I like to do a great big batch of something in the slow cooker that I can turn into sandwiches. Sandwiches are a great way to stretch your dollar, and I'm doing chipotle barbecue pulled pork sandwiches in the slow cooker, and they're just delicious. So sip of coffee and I'm going to get to work. What I like about these recipes is they feed a crowd. You can get them done even a day ahead of time and then just reheat them in your slow cooker. And they're very, very inexpensive, and they're good. They're something that you made yourself. So we're going to start out with, went to festival and got a nice big boneless pork butt roast or a pork shoulder roast. And I wanted to put a rub on it. And a rub is going to give this roast lots of flavor. Now, if you have the time to do this, what you can do is do this the day before and then wrap it really tightly in plastic wrap, and that the rub seasonings will really get in there. If you don't have that time, you can just give it a good rub right before you put it in the slow cooker. Either way, it's going to work just fine. But we want to create a rub, which is, instead of browning the beef, whenever you're, or the pork, whenever you're doing something in a slow cooker, if you're not going to take the time to brown it, you really have to think about seasoning it up well, and then also the liquid that whatever you're putting in the slow cooker that this, in this case, this pork roast is going to cook in all day. You have to have a really flavored liquid and lots of seasoning on whatever you're doing. For this rub, I basically am using brown sugar, chili powder. We've got this whole chipotle thing going on here. So we're going to do some southwestern flavors to this, but don't worry, it's not going to be too spicy, just a lot of great flavor. Cumin. I've got some dried garlic powder would work, some salt, some pepper, and some paprika. So this is stuff you probably already have on hand in your pantry already. You don't have to run out and buy a bunch of stuff. And you'll notice it makes quite a big batch. Well, this is a big piece of meat. We've got about a 5-pound roast here. So, you know, a big piece of meat, you need lots of seasoning. So just mix that all together. The sugar adds just a touch of sweetness, and then we've got all those great spices. Now, again, we're going to feed a crowd here, and even if you're going to do this for your family, leftovers are a good thing in my book. This shredded pork is going to freeze really well in Ziploc bags or in containers for up to 3 months in your freezer. So whenever you want these chipotle shredded pork sandwiches, you've got that right in your freezer to have on hand. But if you're having lots and lots of people over, feel free to double, triple this recipe. Do it in one of those big Nesco roasters, and it's going to work just great for you too. All right, so you take this rub now, and it's called a rub. You just really want to rub it in to all sides of your pork. So just, you know, clean hands, really rub that seasoning mixture all into the pork. And as I said, this is something you could do the day ahead. Wrap this real tight in plastic wrap, and then that flavor's really going to get in there. It's just fine if you do it, you know, right before you put it all together, but if you have that extra time, sometimes that makes a difference, just a little more flavor. When I'm having a graduation party or any sort of party like this, I really like to put a game plan together. You know, so I basically have a list, you know, of, you know, what I can do on this way, what I can do on this day. The most you can get done ahead of time, the better. All right, so we're just about to put this in the crock pot. I'll give my hands another wash. And I've got a nice big sweet onion. Starting to see those Vidalia onions in the grocery store. Love those. I want to use that kind of as a rack, and that's going to go down into my slow cooker first. So I'm just going to take this onion and slice it up and get it in the bottom of my slow cooker. I'm also using a slow cooker liner. I get questions about those all the time. Boy, they rock. Just, you know, no hassle when it comes to the cleanup, and that's another thing you need to consider when you're having a party or you're entertaining. Less cleanup, the better. So down goes my onion, and these you just find right near like the aluminum foil and the plastic wrap in that section of the grocery store. Now, depending on the size of this roast, and this is a biggie, sometimes you need to just cut them in half so they'll fit in your slow cooker. So don't be afraid to do that. Depending on the size and the shape of your roast. But boy, when these cook low and slow all day, they really tend to shrink down. And there's nothing worse than doing this whole thing and not having leftovers like you liked, or just not having enough. So keep that in mind. Sometimes when you do a little guy, it just wasn't quite enough. And then the rest of that seasoning can just get right in there. That's all great flavor, the rest of that rub. The cumin and the chili powder. All right, now real easy, quick braising liquid that we're going to do this in. And it just doesn't get any easier than this. We're actually going to use half of a can of Coke. And this is again going to add some sweetness. And you're saying, that is weird. How's that all going to work out? It's not going to taste like that. We've got all these other great seasonings in here. It just is kind of caramelizes, and it's going to be yummy. Trust me on this. Now, we've got a few tablespoons of these are basically Chipotle barbecue pork sandwiches. So went to Festival, they've got several different varieties of Chipotle flavored barbecue sauce, or just regular barbecue sauce would work fine too. So we're going to add a few tablespoons of that in here along with our cola. And then we've got some Chipotle, a small can of a Chipotle in adobo sauce. This stuff has tons of flavor and very, very spicy, and a little goes a long way. So it's up to you how much you want to put in this. I like to keep it, you're entertaining for a crowd. You don't know how many people like it, how they like it, how spicy people like it. So I like to do maybe one or two peppers. They're pretty big, so maybe we'll do one pepper and then a little bit of the sauce. And this is, like I say, you smell this. It's got this great smoky smell. But they're strong, and you can overdo it. So you can always serve, extra hot sauce on the side. So I just do maybe one pepper and a little bit of that sauce, and there you go. If you want to do it more, certainly you can do more, and it'll be nice and fiery. Lid on this baby. You go out and do your thing. Pick up the balloons and the cake and everything else, and let that cook low and slow all day long. This is a lot of pork here. It's a tougher cut of pork, so it really needs that, all day cooking until it just shreds and apart like a fork. I actually did this last night and cooked all night long. The house smelled amazing. I felt really sad for poor Levi the dog who had to smell it all night. But boy, when I woke up this morning, it smelled so good. So at this point, I'm going to, let's see. Remove it from the slow cooker, and you've got a little bit of liquid here, but not a whole ton, and shred it. And sometimes you can just do it right in with the slow cooker. Just shred it with a fork. You see how that is just shredding up real easy? And then we're going to add a little more sauce. When it falls apart like this, it's done. And as I said, this is something you can even do the whole day before. Cook it and then just reheat it in the slow cooker if you really want to get things done ahead of time. But this is why it's called pulled pork, because you just can use 2 forks. Oh, does that smell good? It just shreds right apart. There was a line, there were a couple graduation speakers. 2 students gave commencement addresses at Riley's graduation yesterday, and there was a line I'll never forget. And I Facebooked about it. And the line was, "How did it get so late, so soon?" And it really, wow, really brought me to tears, because, you remember like taking him home from the hospital and putting him in the car seat for the first time, and, getting him on his bike with the training wheels, and, graduating from kindergarten and then 8th grade. And then it's like, wow, we're here? How did it get so late, so soon? And I wish I could say I came up with that quote, but it's actually a quote by Dr. Seuss. But I think it really does say it all. And anyway, congratulations to all you graduates who graduated. There's lots of college graduations that happened last weekend, and some high schools this weekend, and lots of graduations still to come. So way to go. And to moms and dads, if you have any advice for me, please. especially when I have to send him off to college. I think that's going to be really weird come fall when I moving him into his dorm. Wow. Okay, so in goes our shredded pork. Yeah, I still got him this summer. So, and then we're going to add some more of your favorite barbecue sauce, and we're going to stick with the Chipotle theme here. So we found a couple of different barbecue sauces with that Chipotle flavor. Sweet Baby Ray's, of course, Mad Dog and Merrill have wonderful barbecue sauces too. So whatever your favorite barbecue sauce, you already have the Chipotle and adobo in there, giving it some Chipotle flavor, but we're just going to finish it and sauce it a little bit at the end. And you can always serve extra sauce on the side. But in it goes. And I'm a big believer in making one or two dishes, you know, maybe some of your family's favorites. Maybe you do a great potato salad that, you know, you have to make at every party, or a great coleslaw or macaroni salad, something like that. And then let places like Festival help with the rest. Pick up the veggie and dip tray. Pick up the fruit platter. No need for you to be chopping up all that pineapple and all that watermelon. Pick up a great graduation cake, unless dessert's your thing, and then make dessert and pick up some of the rest of the stuff. I like to serve this, you know, put out a bunch of buns, put out some great salads from your deli. This is really fun too, this dish with coleslaw on top of it. Not only, you know, you can serve it on the side, but it's really nice. We've got kind of this spicy chipotle here, and there's a little bit of cooling. That's what they do down south, is they kind of serve coleslaw right on top of their pulled pork sandwiches. This is also really great, this pork, in warm tortillas with, you know, the Mexican fixing. So, you know, we've got that chipotle flavor here, so it's really great with sour cream and maybe a little pico de gallo, wrapped, a little shredded cheddar cheese wrapped in a tortilla wrap. So there you go. It's my pulled chipotle pork sandwiches. Recipes on our website. You can also pick it up at any area festival food.